What happens when two of music's biggest voices collide in the most unexpected way possible? The Kelly Clarkson Show has seen its fair share of memorable moments. But nothing could have prepared the audience for what unfolded when Miley Cyrus sat down for what was supposed to be a lighthearted conversation about her latest album. Before we get into this wild story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think really happened here. Because this interview went from zero to chaos faster than anyone could have imagined. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement as Kelly Clarkson welcomed Miley Cyrus onto the stage. The energy felt warm, friendly, almost celebratory. The two women embraced, exchanged smiles, and for a moment, it looked like viewers were about to get a relaxed, fun conversation between two powerhouse artists who clearly respected each other's talent. As they settled into their seats, Kelly leaned into her familiar hosting style, radiating openness and curiosity. She began by asking Miley about her new album, inviting her to talk about the inspiration behind the songs and the emotional journey that shaped the project. Miley lit up immediately. She spoke passionately about vulnerability, about stripping everything back and letting the music reflect who she really is at this point in her life. She talked about late nights in the studio, moments of self-doubt, and the freedom she felt creating without compromise. The audience laughed along with their playful exchanges, clearly enjoying the chemistry between them. For the first few minutes, everything flowed effortlessly. Kelly nodded along, occasionally chiming in with her own experiences as an artist, and the crowd soaked up every word. It felt like one of those interviews fans would replay later, praising the honesty and warmth on display. No one in the room suspected what was coming next. Then, almost without warning, Kelly shifted the tone. She leaned forward slightly, her voice still calm, but noticeably more serious. She explained that she wanted to ask Miley about something that had been making headlines recently. Comments, she said, that had sparked debate across the industry. Specifically, remarks Miley was rumored to have made about artists who rose to fame through reality competition shows. Miley's smile flickered for just a split second. It was subtle, but perceptible. Kelly carefully framed the question, mentioning that some people felt those comments suggested that artists from shows like American Idol hadn't truly earned their success. The atmosphere in the studio changed almost instantly. The laughter faded. The audience shifted in their seats. Miley responded with measured control, saying there had been a misunderstanding. She explained that she wasn't judging anyone personally, but talking about the difference between artists who have full creative control from day one and those shaped by a television format. Her words we. Kelly held Miley's gaze as the word hung in the air, and the audience could feel the shift immediately. What had started as a thoughtful discussion now carried an undercurrent of challenge. Kelly explained that, observation or not, the comments had landed painfully for many artists who came up through competition shows. She admitted that she took it personally, not just as a host, but as someone whose entire career began under that kind of scrutiny. Miley straightened in her chair, her posture becoming more rigid. She pushed back, insisting that her point was being twisted. She emphasized that she was talking about artistic autonomy, about the difference between being shaped by network executives versus building an identity independently. Surely, she said, that distinction was worth discussing honestly. Her voice was steady, but the warmth from earlier was gone. Kelly's famous smile had disappeared. She responded sharply, asking why Miley felt the need to draw such hard lines. Did she really believe that standing on a stage in front of millions of viewers, being judged week after week, was somehow less valid than any other path? The studio went completely silent. Even the background energy seemed to drain away as producers exchanged uneasy glances offstage. Miley crossed her arms, her eyes flashing. She reminded Kelly that she herself grew up on television and didn't need a lecture about pressure or cameras. What she was talking about, she said, was the difference between the machine and the artist. And if Kelly was taking it personally, maybe there was a reason for that. Kelly let out a short, humorless laugh. She pointed out that Miley had specifically referenced shows like hers in past interviews. She quoted a line about real artists not needing judges to validate them. That, Kelly said plainly, was why she was taking this personally. The audience murmured, some nodding in agreement, others visibly uncomfortable as the confrontation intensified. Miley leaned back, but her body language was tense. She accused Kelly of twisting her words to fit a narrative and insisted she had respect for Kelly's accomplishments. Still, she argued, it was dishonest to pretend that having a major network behind you from day one wasn't an advantage. Kelly seized on that word, her voice rising slightly as she explained her own past, working terrible jobs, barely surviving, and seeing that show as her only chance. She described the constant pressure, the endless proving of herself even after winning. Her words were raw, personal, and clearly fueled by years of frustration. She wasn't going to sit there, she said, and let that journey be diminished. Miley pushed back again, claiming Kelly was acting like everyone who didn't go that route had it easy, which she said was equally unfair. The tension was now unmistakable. What began as a discussion about the music industry had become deeply personal. Every sentence carried more weight, every response sharper than the. Kelly's words lingered in the air, heavy and charged. And for a brief moment, neither woman spoke. Then Kelly went further, her tone sharpening as she pointed out what she saw as a contradiction. She said it was hard to listen to lectures about advantage and authenticity from someone who grew up with Hollywood doors already open. The mention of Miley's father hit the room like a shockwave. You could feel it ripple through the audience as heads turned and breaths caught. Miley's face went pale, then flushed red. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor, the sound echoing through the stunned studio. Her voice dropped low as she asked if Kelly was really going to play that card on her own show, in front of everyone. The confrontation had crossed into dangerous territory now, far beyond professional debate. Kelly remained seated at first, but her eyes burned. She said she was pointing out hypocrisy, nothing more. Miley wanted to talk about who had advantages and who didn't, but seemed blind to her own starting position. Kelly reminded her that she hadn't had to audition or beg for a shot. She hadn't needed to prove herself to anyone before getting an opportunity. Miley fired back, her voice rising as audience members shifted uncomfortably, some even glancing toward the exits. She asked if Kelly really thought being Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter made life easier. She talked about the crushing pressure, the constant accusations that everything she achieved was handed to her, the impossibility of ever being seen as her own person. Those words seemed to shake her, anger and hurt blending together. Kelly stood up now, matching Miley across the small table between them. She argued that at least Miley had the opportunity to deal with that pressure. Some people, she said, never even got a foot in the door. They had to take the one chance they were given, even if it meant being judged on national television. She said she would have killed to have even one connection before starting out. Miley shot back that Kelly wanted someone to hand her an opportunity, while she wanted to create her own. She admitted she had advantages, but claimed she was at least honest about how manufactured the industry could be. Kelly accused her of being defensive because deep down she knew there was truth in what she was saying. That's when Kelly delivered another blow, calling Miley a hypocrite. She pointed out that Miley built her career on a Disney Channel show, saying she was just as manufactured as anyone else. The only difference, Kelly argued, was that Miley later rebelled against it and now wanted credit for being revolutionary. Miley's hands began to shake as she insisted. Kelly knew nothing about her journey, about fighting to escape a box built by an entire corporation. The room felt suffocating, as if no one dared to breathe. This was no longer an interview. It was a reckoning. Miley's voice trembled as she spoke about control, about taking her power back after years of being told who she was supposed to be. She said every risk she took was a conscious choice, every controversial move a step toward reclaiming her identity. Kelly listened, arms crossed, then shook her head and said that wasn't control, it was reaction. She described it as being so defined by a manufactured image that Miley had to become the complete opposite just to feel free. That comment cut deep. Miley's face drained of color before flushing again, and she snapped back that Kelly had no right to psychoanalyze her life on national television. She said Kelly had no idea what it took to fight against an entire corporation, to break free from a role that millions refused to let go of. Everything she had done since, she insisted, was about living authentically, even if people hated her for it. Kelly echoed that word, authentic, questioning it with a sharp edge. She said authenticity wasn't a shield and it didn't excuse judging everyone else's path. Being authentic didn't automatically make someone right. Miley pushed back, saying she never claimed her path was the only valid one. Only that different paths came with different trade-offs that deserved honesty. Kelly answered coldly that her own path was built on showing up, working hard, and respecting the opportunities she was given. Miley's, she said, seemed built on tearing others down to feel important. She said she was proud of that difference. The words landed hard. Miley stared at her for a long moment, then quietly said she was leaving. She called the interview a mistake, saying she expected an adult conversation, not a personal attack disguised as journalism. As Miley turned toward the exit, Kelly called after her, accusing her of making bold statements and then walking away when challenged. Miley spun back, tears visible in her eyes now, and spoke about consequences. She said she had lived with them every day, had been mocked, dismissed, and torn apart, but kept going because she believed in what she was doing. She questioned whether Kelly could say the same, or if she was simply doing what was safe. Kelly fired back that she had been fighting her entire career too, fighting for songs, for respect, for creative control, and she refused to let that struggle be minimized. Miley's voice cracked as she said, "Some people didn't have the luxury of playing it safe, that sometimes burning everything down was the only way to survive." Silence swallowed the room. The two women stood just feet apart, yet worlds away. No music played. No applause came. Finally, Miley wiped her eyes, shook her head, and walked off stage without looking back. Kelly stood there alone for a moment before slowly sitting down, her expression unreadable, the energy in the studio shattered. "So now it's your turn. After everything that was said, who do you think was right in this confrontation? And should I continue by expanding or refining?"